Hello my crafty friends, Corrine here from Corrine Crafts. I hope you are doing well and I hope you enjoyed my Christmas in July series. Well, that's come to an end now, so it is the 1st of August, or first video of August, so I thought I would do something a little bit different. Now, a while back I was asked to do a teenage girl and a teenage boy card for inspiration. So I did the teenage girl and I thought I would show you now what I've done for the teenage boy. Isn't this absolutely gorgeous? Now, since the video, I have actually put a faux border or faux stitched edge around that tag just because I needed it to stand out a bit. I think if I'd have thought on, I would have edged it in black, a bit like I did with this, just to make it pop a bit more. So I'll give you that tip as well. So trying to make something that will work for those teenage boys. I mean, hitting all of the categories that are really, really hard to do. The male cards, the teenage cards, all in one hit. So what we've done here is so adaptable. Change the paper. Now I've done a card because it's 17, so I thought that was really good because people start to learn to drive at 17, but you could change it to whatever theme paper works for you. Change the numbers and change the sentiments. I really like the idea of maybe handwriting the name on the sentiment, the name on the little tag there. Change the colours. You don't have to do craft. You can make it how you want, but I hope this sort of layout is giving you a little bit of inspiration. How about embossing the tag? Lots and lots of different ways to use it. So I'm going to show you now how I put this together. This card then is it's a slightly different colourway that we've done before, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. Now, my card topper, which is a piece of craft card, is 5 inches by 6.5 inches, and my card base is going to be 1 inch bigger by it's going to be 6 by 7.5 inches. You know, the mats and layers I often do, I often go up in a 1 inch increment. So there are my measurements, just so that you can take a note of them. Obviously, with you, these aren't for you to use if you don't want to, but it just gives you an inclination of the sort of size of my card, because it's often quite hard to tell. So 5 by 6.5 inches for my topper, and then 1 inch bigger for the card base. So the first thing I'm going to do to the card base is I'm going to just do some faux border type stuff around the edges. I mean, you can do whatever faux border works for you. So I'm going to come on here. Now, we're going to be doing this a teenage cow. And I want that to go like that. And then I'm going to do some dots. I'll show you on the back in a minute another type. So, you know, like squiggly lines. The best thing to do is not to go too slow, because then it's harder to do. So I can do some like that, come down here, we could do some dotty bits, a few more, and then we could come back and do some more squiggles like this, and then another one, a squiggle all the way down, and then some dots, and then we'll do one more squiggle to the corner, and then we'll go around again. I find it easier to pull down towards me. You might find it easier to work across, whichever way works for you. Let's do that. Some dots, one more line. There's no right or wrong way with these. I mean, they're just sort of like graffiti squiggles, so you can't get them wrong. I'll show you one that I prepped a minute ago, and it's completely different. I'm trying not to do them at all symmetrical. And there we go, like that. There we go. So just some rough odds and ends around the edges. I mean, I've done that one already. You can see every single one comes out slightly different. And we need to put this onto our card base. So my card base, I've gone a bit different this time. I've used a cream card base, so I thought I would try that for once. And I've done this lovely green. Now, the reason I've done this green, and I'll show you, I've just got a scrap of it. This is paper that I'm going to be using on the top cards, and you can see that green is very good match. So that's what we're going to put on there. And then I've got a layer of black to go under there, and then that is going to go on to the green. So those are my colorways. So let's just pop that on now. I put the black on flat, I think. Again, I'm using my bookbinding glue. You'll notice I've used this for a couple of videos now. Really enjoying using this. It comes out really nice. Doesn't buckle the card, doesn't warp the card, very low water content. So it's perfect for doing your mats and layers. So we can put that on there. Now, if you remember, if this was 5 by 6.5, I've gone up in about just under 1/4 of an inch each time, just to give me the perfect mats and layers. Then I think I will go on with my Sticks 2. You see my big roll on here. If you want to see this, just go on to the Sticks 2 website. That's the only place I know to get this one, from Sticks 2, and then you can pick it up off there. So let's turn this over, and then we can put some of this on the back, making sure it stays nice and firm. Put that onto there. What does this do if I fold it in half? Oh, that's a good guess. Do you know what? I pull off random bits, but it doesn't have. Sometimes I'm just going to put that on at a little bit of an angle, just because I've gone a little bit wide, but that's fine. So we can take the back off there. Remember, always burnish it down, and it peels off better. I find this one is better underneath the edge. Sometimes some of you take from the top, but if you take this one from the side, it'll peel off really easily. And then we always go with a little bit of PVA, not because it's not a reflection of the adhesive. The adhesive is perfectly, it's absolutely brilliant. The wet glue is just to give me that little bit of wiggle room. So we can put that on there, and you can see, look, I can move it around, and then once I'm happy with where it is, I just press, and then the foam tape takes hold. There we go, there's my card base. Okay, so I need to make some toppers. What I might do, I might just give that a minute under a weighted bit. Okay, so I'll show you what I've done so far. So I have just die cut from this car paper. Now, teenage boys, time to pass the driving, you know, start to learn to drive. They don't all learn to drive at 17, but you know, you could make the 17, 19, whatever, if you know somebody's learning to drive. I'm going to make this into a tag, and I wanted a hole reinforcer, and I didn't have any. So I've got some gold, which I think is quite a good sort of match for the yellowy cards on there. And I'm going to stick this on where I would normally put a reinforcer. After I've stuck it down, I'm then going to get a smaller one, and I'm going to cut a hole out of the centre. Make sure that's lined up well. There we go. And to make sure I don't put too much pressure on, if I can reach it, I'm going to get my smallest die cutting machine. And all I'm going to do, make sure that's glued down well, all I'm going to do is pop into there. Now, all I will do is I will go through. There you go, I heard that click out, and that's clicked out. I only die cut as much as I need. Ideally, you would leave that adhesive to dry. You wouldn't go in as quickly as I did then. And there you go. That looks like a nice chunky, you know, those hole reinforcers that you get. I quite like that. But by doing it that way, you know that everything lines up. You could cut a hole into the tag, then cut a hole into the gold, and then line them both up. But this way, it's absolutely perfect. So that is going to go onto my card, but I need a little bit more. So I thought I would also cut, you know I like this sort of graffiti brickwork. You can get lots like this, and I've cut it out, but I think it's a bit wide. Let me just try and get this out. It's got stuck in the die. There we go. Let's peel it out like that. Get rid of all the bricks in a minute. Why has this got stuck? Is it not caught? I've only cut it in my smallest die cutting machine. It's just got caught. There we go. What's caught there? Quite a thick black card is this, and I've done it in my smallest die cutting machine, but it's no problem. We'll just poke it out. Oh, you can see when we're doing these live, can't you? Don't worry about that. We'll get it. Oh, that's fine. So let's poke these ones out. You sometimes find that some of them, if they don't poke out all the way, they've just caught. So all you do is take them to the back and then you can just sort of peel them off. Right, there we go. So if I put this to go over here, it's a little bit too wide, but not quite long enough. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come into here and I'm just going to trim into this a little bit. I'm going to take a few little bits off and make it not quite as wide. Just through here. There we go. That cuts off. And then what I would do next is I'd get my mat, just like this. Put a little bit of my glue on. Now, I'm going to use this side that's cut. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on these raw edges. Make sure it's all gone over there. Then, all I need to do then is bring this over. So what this does is the die cut, I want it a bit longer, don't I? The die cut gives me the rounded die cut edges. And all I'm going to do is line it up with another brick so that it's neat. And then it'll just extend it a little bit. There, I've made it a little bit longer, but I've still got the neatness of a die cut. Come on, glue to stick down, please. If your glue hasn't stuck at any point, you can just go in and just put a tiny bit more on. Then I'm going to come, I've got a thread there. Let's go to that thread because that doesn't look pretty. Let's come down this side next. It's just ripped a little bit there, so we can come across that way, come across that way, and there. And then we can use that one. And then we can extend this again, make it a little bit taller. Don't want it too tall, but that looks a bit better. And actually, I quite prefer it. It looks a little bit more rugged and graffiti-like. I'm going to do it this way this time. Why did I go so tall? I didn't mean to do that. So then we can just line that up. But always make sure you line it back up with a brick, like, you know, the lines, so it looks a lot better. And there we go. So I've turned it, just line that up a little bit better there. There we go. Right, so we now have a nice extended brickwork. So we've got two pieces here. I also want a star. So I've cut out a nice star, and I've cut it out of a bit like it's not a glitter card, but it's a bit flocked. I do like that, nice textured card. So let's get rid of that so you can see. And then the final thing I'm going to do is I've got some of this textured paper, and I'm going to just tear this. I'm going to tear from the top. I'm going to tear it round. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some numbers on here. So I've die cut out a 1 and a 7 for 17 out of some gold, that gold that I've used for the top. So I just want to make sure this is big enough, roughly to there. I'm going to have to go really close to the edge there because it's quite, I certainly don't want that straight edge. There we go. So I've now got a nice die cut bit, and all I would do here is I would get myself, that looks a little bit too pristine at the moment. So what we're going to do, a little bit of water reactive ink. Let's just rough that up a little bit. Let's really let it, not try to be like there, but like that, look. Rough up those edges just that little bit. If it tears, that's not a problem. You know, it's a bit like when we do the the shredder bit that you use on the edge of your cardstock. You know, make sure it just really roughs it up a bit and gives it a little bit of quality. It would be too perfect otherwise. And then the other thing I want to do while I've got the ink out is just go round the edges of this as well, just to make it, again, give it a little bit of an aged look. Otherwise it'll look too perfect. That's why I've not used a white card base, because I don't want perfect, you know, that clean. I want it sort of a little bit grungy. There we go. Right, so I've now got all of the pieces that I need, I think. let's put that lid on there. Right, so I've got my brickwork, I've got my tag, I've got my numbers, I've got that. Oh, and the other thing I've got is I just tied, oops, a couple of bits of jewellery making wax cord together. You can see I put a little bit of glue on there so it can't come undone. Just tied those up. Don't know if I'm going to use this, but I think I might. So let's bring our card base back in. So this is holding nice and firm because we've just had that weight on. So let's just do some placement. So this is going to go on here first. You could make this card a lot longer if you wanted to. Then I'm going to now you've got a choice. We can either put that on that way or that, or quite like it underneath. Now you're not going to see much of that because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our star on, and I'm going to break some lines with this. Again, don't be worried about going over the edges, but that works quite well, doesn't it? And then I could put my numbers on. So let's just put my numbers just like that, and then we'll put the thread on. Right, that's going to work really nicely. Okay, so I think I'm going to need my mat again. What we can do is with the bookbinding glue, we can put a little bit on here, and then we can tap this into the glue. You could use your precision glue gun, but that could take quite a while with something as big as this. This way will work a lot quicker. Just remember to clean your mat quite quick because that's going to dry. So we're going to put that onto here, and I'll just get my cloth, just give it a really good tap down. It'll take off any excess glue and it'll hold it down nice and tight. So the next thing we said we would do is we said we'd put our tag on. So let's put the tag on. Again, we're still going to go flat at this point. So let's just come in with some glue. I think finding, oh, I never said this paper was, let me show you where this came from. I sort of jumped ahead with that. Was from, this is what we talked about, finding plate things in different places. This was from the works. I must have bought this years and years ago. It's just a paper pad of lots of different designs, but it's absolutely, I love this with the suitcases. It's about travel, but it's perfect if you're struggling with your mail cards. Look, that's got a bit of shimmer to it. That's nice. This one feels slightly textured or embossed. Oh yeah, this is embossed. The arrows are definitely embossed, you can see. Well, I like the camper bands. I didn't see that one when I was picking this paper out. There you go. So that's what I got. So it's all about finding those, you know, those bits when you're least expecting them. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to think about, I want my star about there, and I want this to sort of, that's a bit long, that one, isn't it? Let's just trim that a little bit there. So we want this to sort of poke out a little bit. It's all about texture and dimension. So let's pop a little bit of 3D glue on there. That's going to hold that in place. That's a lot of 3D glue, but I want it to hold the star as well. And for things like this, you don't want to glue down all the edges. Now I'm going to put the star straight. So the tag's gone at an angle, the brickwork's gone at an angle, but the star is going fairly straight. So you can see we're not seeing a great deal of that brickwork, but it's just a hint. So we can see we can always trim some of these, pull them around a bit. And then actually I've got a better one, I think. Now I'm going to put these on first. So let's put my 1 and my 7 on first. I think I could do with my tweezers. Otherwise I get my fingers in the way. Let's move some bits out of the way. Let's go on to here. And the 1's going to go just here. I'm not going to press them down too hard just yet. And then the 7 on just there. I mean, in the UK, children, young adults can start to learn to drive at 17. They don't have to. So that's why I thought this one makes a perfect 17th birthday card. Now that's not straight, is it? Let's put that straight now. Look nice with the numbers in black. just to show you, the die I used for that was this one. So all I did was I cut out a piece of paper and put it behind the 1 and the 7, so I didn't need to cut out all the rest of them. You can take these numbers apart, they will break apart, but I fear that I'll lose them. So if I want something, I just put a piece of card behind the 1 and the 7 and just cut those out like that. So let's press that down, and then this, it comes together quite quickly, doesn't it? I love these cards where you just sort of randomly put bits on. Let's do that with some 3D glue as well. Oh, that's all gone out of that tube. You always need to have 2 tubes, so just in case, put some more on here. This is the Pin Flare 3D glue, if you're able to get it. So press that down. And then the final thing I've done is I've made a little grungy happy birthday just by stamping happy birthday onto some craft card, and then I've inked around the edges, and then all I've done is I've got a thick black pen and I've just gone around the edges. I didn't want to make it any bigger by matting and layering it, but I wanted it to have that definition, so I've just used a pen. You don't always have to you know, do that. Actually, that would have looked quite nice around the tag, which I've not done. I didn't want to do it around there because it's going on to the black, so we could then just put that just there. Now the final thing, and I've given myself lots of options, I've got lots out. I just want to put some of these. I like these. I don't know what you call them, not those ones, but these ones. They're just like little paint ones, aren't they? They're really nice and not like gems that I normally use. So I just want to try and find some that might be the right colour. I think those would be a good colour to match. So look at these. The browns would also look good. Now those greens aren't right, are they? Now, do I go... So that's a good match for that car there. I could actually do a couple of different colours, couldn't I? So I could come out with... Now I've got to be careful not to do that and lose them. Oh, I knew that would happen. I always flick gems away, don't I? You've seen me flick them away. Let's go with the bigger one as well. Again, if I can do it without dropping it. And then I might do a couple of the green ones. Which green ones did I say? This green one here. So let's go a couple of that size. One more green one. I'll do a larger green one on here. Come on, try not to flick it. Put that one down there, and then I'll go back to the browns and I'll get the biggest size in the brown, and I'm going to pop it onto the tag just there, so it ties it all together. So I've just decided I want another green, and then I won't have 1s, 3s or 5s. I'm going to have 6s, but I don't care. I don't care. I want a green one on there. There we go, just like that. And that is my teenage boy card. A little bit sort of here and there and what have you, but I really like that. Yeah, that is perfect. It's sort of a little bit of everything. I think it's perfect if they're starting to learn to drive. You've got that little bit of grunge. I like the faux stitching. I was going to show you as well, when you're doing faux stitching, there's lots of different ways. So you can do it like I did there, or you can do wiggly lines like that. You can do 2 wiggly lines so that they cross over like that. You can do dots across the edge like that. What else can you do? There's so many different ones. You could just do dots, or I sometimes do dots and dashes. That one works well. The thing is not to try and do them too straight. If you try and do them straight and they're not straight, then it shows. But lots of different ones. And then, or you could do like barbed wire crosses over where they cross. There are so many different styles of faux borders you can put around the edge, but I just think it just lifts that and gives it a little bit of interest. And I love this little bit of twine on there. There we go. How about that? Perfect card for a 17-year-old boy, and I mean 17-year-old girl as well, but I was thinking teenage boy because that's what I'd been asked about. So yeah, so there we go. I hope you like that. that's the first one back after my Christmas in July. So that was a bit of a different one, wasn't it? We've gone from snowflakes and poinsettias to grungy teenage boys. What a transformation. But I like to help people when they say they're struggling with ideas. And this was something that people were struggling with. So I hope you like that. No sort of inking backgrounds. We've done it all with our die cuts. But I'm sure you've got die cuts in your collection that would work for this equally as well. So thank you for watching. I'll put some links on the left. I might try and see if I can still link to the teenage girl one that I did. I will also put a link to my subscribe on the right. And then I will link down in the bottom to anything that I can find. Yeah, the twine I know I definitely picked up off Amazon, where I'll be able to put down at the bottom as well. So there we go. Thank you for watching. Please let me know what you think. Give it a like if you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to click on one of the links. So until next time, my crafty friends, you take care, enjoy your crafting, and I'll be speaking to you again very soon. Bye for now.